the 62-year-old veteran, who runs a small convenience store in the village of Merrick, feared for his life as he went along the mountain crest, carrying ammunition and other essentials. Mr. Dorje had been recruited along with hundreds of others from nearby villages when tensions escalated dramatically between the two armies last year. We came close to the Chinese and we thought they might target us, he said. A year ago, India and China accused each other of intruding into each other's territory in Ladakh. In fact, most of the estimated 3,440 kilometers long border has been undefined since a war in 1962, with both countries having different perceptions of their frontier. According to Indian media, the confrontation began after Chinese forces put up tents, dug trenches, and moved heavy equipment several kilometers inside what had been regarded by India as its territory. Caught unaware by the sudden Chinese move, the Indian army responded by rushing tens of thousands more troops and additional armaments to Ladakh. In June, the tension came to a head with a violent brawl in the Galwan Valley that resulted in the deaths of 20 Indian soldiers. China said later it lost 4 troops in the clash. Visits to the lake have been rare since travelers were only allowed to return in January, and the BBC is one of few media outlets to reach villages like Merrick, home to around 350 people, many of them nomads. Here, though, life goes on much as it did before. Women in their traditional attire tend to yaks and pashmina goats, and the village seems relatively untouched by coronavirus pandemic. There are reminders here and there of the lurking danger that overshadows the picture postcard scenery army vehicles carry. Supplies and soldiers frequent the newly laid single-lane road to the fortified forward areas. For decades, the simmering tension between India and China has overshadowed this region. During winter, our people from here and the nearby Chushul area used to take yaks and goats to graze in the mountains on the other side, Mr. Dorje said. But over the years, the Chinese have gradually taken over Indian territory, and the grazing areas have reduced. The repercussions of last year's border scuffles are also being felt a long way from this inhospitable territory. The border standoff in the past year has profoundly altered India-China bilateral relations, said Ajay Shukla, an Indian military expert who once served as a colonel in the army. The Chinese have put on the table an earlier claim line that the Chinese had laid out in 1959. If India were to accept that, it would lose a significant chunk of territory, he said. According to Mr. Shukla and several other experts, China's advance into eastern Ladakh means hundreds of square kilometers of territory that India claimed as its own effectively became China's. After several rounds of talks, the two militaries agreed in February to pull back from the mountains around the Pangong Tso Lake.